In July this year, I had to call an ambulance to pick up Ivan. It was quite a scare, and it was my very first time calling an ambulance in Germany. In this video, we will break down everything that happened so you're prepared if you ever need to call an ambulance in Germany. We will also talk about the big question of how much did it cost to get an ambulance. Before this episode starts, we have a small favor to ask from you. Our goal for this year is to reach 50,000 YouTube subscribers. If you've ever liked any of our videos, if you like this channel, then please hit that subscribe button that's down here at the bottom.
The bigger the channel, the bigger the reach, and the more internationals can benefit from our content to settle into life in Germany more smoothly. Thank you very much and enjoy this episode. First, let's discuss when to call an ambulance. Of course, if it's an emergency, a medical emergency that is, then you should call an ambulance. Now, of course, emergencies come in any shapes and sizes. According to the Medical Helpline's website, if a situation is life-threatening or there is a risk of permanent injury, then you should call the emergency number.
It is very important to point out for you to not call the emergency number if it's not an emergency. And here's a little kind of like decision chart that we prepared so you have a better understanding of what to do in what scenarios. If you're feeling generally sick and it's during working hours, then you should go to your Hausarzt, which is a general practitioner. You don't have to have a specific Hausarzt. We talk about how to find a doctor in Germany in a video that you can check out up here.
If you're feeling generally sick and you would like medical attention, but it's during the evening, Wednesday afternoons when doctors tend to be closed, or on the weekend or public holidays, then you can call or use the help of the on-call services in Germany. If you speak German, you can call the 116 117. Why do we specify the language? They say specifically on the website it's only available in German. Once you talk to them, they will identify a situation, either send you to the ER, send you to an on-call doctor, or tell you how else to proceed.
Yes, they would also tell you which pharmacy is around you that is open during this time, or also they will guide you if you need to call an ambulance. Maybe they call it for you, or they will tell you what to do. Now, if you don't speak German, then there are two things you can do. Number one, you could check the on-call doctors also on the 116 117 website, which we will leave the link in the description box below. There you put your postal code and then you would have the list of doctors that could be available. And you could also check for the Notapotheke, which is the on-call pharmacy, on aponet.de, which we will also leave in the description box below if you are looking for over-the-counter medicine.
Very important is also that if you're still capable of moving yourself and it is not an emergency, that you don't present yourself in the ER, but really seek the services that we just described to you beforehand.
Yes, when I was very fresh in Germany, I had a very severe cold, which I thought I was dying in the middle of the night. I couldn't find any medicine. I actually walked into the ER and they totally told me to go home. I didn't get any medicine or anything, so it was really a big effort to go there and I came back empty-handed. I cried in bed alone because I didn't know what to do, and I wish I would have known there was Notapothekes or emergency pharmacies that I could have gone to get some medication for my cold.
But since this video is about how to call an ambulance, let's talk about what number to call when there is an emergency. For medical emergencies or fire, it's the 112. If you need the police, it's 110. And if you're calling from your mobile phone, if you're dialing 911, it gets automatically redirected to 112. Either way, one of the three numbers, they will direct you and help you with the right attention that you need.
Yes, and they will also dispatch the correct people that need to be dispatched. So if you call the police, but it needs to be an ambulance, they will take care of it. So don't think it has to be super strict on only this number will help you out. So to give you more context, we can talk about what was our emergency. So Ivan had been feeling sick throughout the day, normally I would say, until...
But the sick where I say I don't need a doctor, I'll just sleep it off.
Yes, and the thing is that she was vomiting and then she had diarrhea and then she spent the whole day in bed. Around 4 p.m. she got up to go to the bathroom. Luckily I was there with her because she looked very weak, I would say. So I was just there to see if everything was going well. After she finished going to the bathroom, she got up and then suddenly she held to the door frame and the sink and her eyes crossed, went high up. It was really scary and then she passed out. I thought in that moment, actually, she was having a seizure just because of the way her face looked. She was unconscious for a few seconds, and when she gained consciousness again, She was soaked in sweat. Literally, I have never seen Yvonne sweat so much. And she couldn't get up the floor. There was no chance for her to get up because she was so weak. So in this case, I called 112 to ask for an ambulance. So what will they ask you when you call the 112? So very important is for you to remain calm and provide as short and concise information as possible. I started the call in German saying, I'm sorry, my medical Deutsch is not so good in German. And the guy replied in English, no problem. Then he proceeded to ask me what happened. I told him my wife is unconscious, was unconscious on the floor. She can't get up. Where are you? I gave my address, how many people are involved, is your wife injured in any sense? They also asked, is she conscious in this moment? And literally, it was just a gathering of information. He said paramedics are on their way, and we hung up. It's a very straightforward call, and the more calm and precise you are, the faster the person will be able to dispatch the right help for you. So how long did it take for the ambulance to get here? The time the ambulance takes to arrive somewhere, according to the research that I did, highly depends on the severity of the medical emergency, the location, and the availability, of course. In our case, from the moment I hung up until the moment the paramedics had parked their vehicle, got out of the car, got up to our house, and were actually checking Yvonne's vitals, were 10 minutes. I found that super fast.
Now, who arrives in the ambulance? In our case, it was 2 paramedics. That was enough for us because, again, like you said, my case wasn't as severe. However, we've also seen and done research that in really severe cases, life or death, there's typically a second car arriving, and that is with a doctor on call, typically called the Notarzt. In my case, they bombarded me with a million questions to see my mental state and to learn about my health history. They did a few quick checkups, my vitals. They did quick EKG to check that my heart is fine. They tested my blood sugar, like pretty much all the regular things to see that I'm stable. And then they suggested that they could take me to the hospital for further treatment, especially getting IV fluids and an extended test of my heart, and just to observe that I won't fade again.
Now, what should you prepare if you're not the person in the emergency and you're in the position to help? Luckily, I would say we were at home. So as the paramedics arrived, I started packing a medical bag or a hospital bag just in case we would go to the hospital. And there I packed snacks, books, sweaters, water, but most importantly, the health insurance card. That is like the #1 priority that needs to be accessible. Because when you were being taken to the hospital, the first thing the paramedic asked, where is your health insurance card?
Yes, they actually already took that in the house and used that during the drive, and also handed it to the hospital staff.
Now, how much did all of this cost? Long pause. Until today, we have not received any invoice asking for us to pay for the ambulance. If an invoice were to come, the maximum amount that we would pay is 10 euros. You heard that right. That is 10 euros. That's because in Germany we have universal healthcare. So the whole thing of Yvonne being transferred to the hospital, being checked up, making sure she's okay, getting the IV fluids, so far didn't cost us a cent. That's because every month we pay public health insurance. Now, if you were to pay for something that you were in the hospital, let's say if you have to stay one night, that could cost also 10 euros, or the ambulance 10 euros. Usually how it would go is that you would get an invoice through the postal mail service, which then you need to transfer. And if you have private health insurance, then you would need to pay first and you would get a reimbursement.
From your health insurance.
From your health insurance, yes.
In the hospital, I was taken very seriously. I got medical attention from the nurse and the doctor on call. Like I said before, they did further checkups like blood examinations, a longer test on my heart. They also did an ultrasound on my organs in my belly area. Everything turned out totally fine. I was just extremely weak. This is also why it took several IV fluids to get me back on speed. And I stayed, I think, around like 5 to 6 hours in the hospital until they released me.
So what was wrong with Yvonne? After this whole scare, we actually learned that I said we because I was also, but I didn't experience this symptoms, we got food poisoning. And that's because we had cooked lentils at home and we ate them and they were undercooked. And as it turns out, any legumes, I think that's the right pronunciation in English, meaning any beans, lentils, chickpeas, also if you undercook them, or you eat them undercooked, they're highly poisonous. And hold and behold, Yvonne was highly poisoned.
And Jen was resistant to it all.
It's the Guatemalan training. Another question is, how do you get home from the hospital? So the ambulance, if they will transport you to the hospital, that's kind of like the end of when you see them. They will not wait around to take you back home. That's not how it works. They drop you off, hand you over to the hospital, and that's it. From the hospital, you are responsible to get home through your own measures. That's either taxi, public transportation, having a friend, family member come and pick you up. Very important is that if you are in no condition to get into any public transportation or anything, you could ask the doctor to provide you a paper that's called the Transportschein. This is pretty much kind of like a voucher that will help you later to submit that paper to your health insurance for them to reimburse the money from either the taxi or any other shuttle service that you take. This transportation is called Krankentransport, and some health insurances cover that. However, this is not the norm. I would say this has to be very extreme for a doctor to be able to issue such a paper. Generally speaking, you need to find your way home. So in our case, the paramedics suggested that if we have a car, to follow the ambulance, because if I would go with Yvonne in the ambulance, that would mean we would need to get a taxi back home. So that's what I did. Since we have a car, I followed the ambulance to the hospital, parked the vehicle, went to the ER section, found Yvonne, saw that everything was okay, and when she was released by the doctor, then I drove home with Yvonne in the car.
If you're ever in a situation that goes beyond the general sickness, in Jen's case, me fainting and sweating profusely, then better call 112 to make sure that if they assess the situation also as emergency, you get the right attention or further guidance. When it comes to health insurance in Germany, you get that peace of mind where you can focus on helping the sick or yourself and not worrying about what it will cost you. If you would like to know more about health insurance and whether public or private health insurance is the correct one for you, we recorded a detailed video comparing both, also depending on your life situation, which you can check out here on the left. Until next time, cheers!
By the way, Julia, just recently we found out that we reached out to you like a year ago.
Yep.
We're almost at our 1-year anniversary together. I hope you're clapping.
When to call an ambulance.
To call an ambulance. It's not like you got amputated. I hung up.
Amputated?
Sorry, let me do that again.